Welcome back, everyone, to our second episode in the Author's Own series. And we're back with Raga de Silva, uncovering her book, Untold Lies. In this episode, we're going to focus on the relationships that she speaks about in the book. Hi, Raga. Welcome back.
Hi, I love the 5 minute podcast that you have, 5 minute library
Yes.
podcast that you have. Love it.
Thank you so much. So, in your book, you've explored a lot of relationships through your writing. You've spoken about your relationships with your siblings and how your brother dressed you up on this one Sunday that you all went to watch a movie, and that with your father, who was an alcoholic, your mother, and the comfort you found with her when you used to share the bed at night and sleep with her and cuddle with her, and of course, with your dog and your cat who helped you write the book. So tell us more about these relationships. When you were going through the difficult times and through turmoil, were there any of these that were very defining or helped you get through it?
Gosh, that's such a deep question. I I I think life is all about relationships. It has got nothing to do with what you own, where you live, who you know, although we think that is what is important. But it is purely about relationships. I've lived my life nurturing every relationship. And of course, things have gone bad for me as well. I mean, there are certain people in my life I don't look back at. I don't even look at them. I don't even think about them. But mostly, whoever it is, I will know everybody's names, for instance, whoever it is, it doesn't matter what title, whatever. I know about their lives. So, me, relationship is very important. At the same time, the kind of person I am, I like to look after my people, whether it is my family or my friends. So, if there was anything bad happening, I wouldn't share. I don't share until it's over, until I have resolved it, found the solution, and things happen. If I'm going through a really bad time, nobody will know because I don't like to bring in that kind of darkness to anybody else. So I deal with it myself, and I have lived like that, and I feel very comfortable in dealing with it myself. I feel that, like I said to you, I think I feel like I can manage everything on my own. And I do that because as a little girl, I managed huge other issues. So I
Yeah.
feel that I'm capable. I protect my people, my relationships. So therefore, I don't bring them in when I am in a difficult place. And that's my way of loving them. Now, my mother was very important to me. My father was an alcoholic, I keep saying, but very important to me. Made peace. I'm sure he had his own journey because of which he became what he became. Sadly, he passed away many, many years ago when I was 6 years old. My siblings are very important to me. My dog at that time, Bruno, was super important, as you can see in that stories that I've said. We have a cat that we picked up from the rubbish bin in Mumbai from near Times of India building many years ago. Now he turned 10 in October last year. He's traveled everywhere with us, including now he's a rich cat in London, an NRI cat, like I say, with his own passport in London. And he's very important to my life because he would sit with me every day as I would write Untold Lies, and I would talk to Biscuit, and I would have conversations about what do I write now, Biscuit? Should I write this or not? And he would do meow. So I say, okay, not writing anymore. You don't approve. But you say that everybody is important, whether it is people, whether it's a pet, whether it is a situation. They're all important. They're all relationships that we need to nurture.
Wow. Um, that was a very deep answer to a very deep question. I think that's incredible how every single relationship in your life has played a part in you becoming who you are today. This brings me to my next question, which is about your relationship with trust. How has it evolved from when you wrote the book to now?
Haja.
Just in addition, you mentioned that there was a point in the book in one of the stories when it seemed as though your trust was broken, and there was an incident that made you lose your trust. So even, how have you got it back since then? And what are your thoughts towards trust now?
Every experience in life teaches you, right? So I really believe that trust as a word, if we use trust as a word, it's very fluid. So if today's experience of trust is poor for me, today I will not trust anyone. But tomorrow, if I have an experience where somebody has really, lived up to my version of trust, then I will start trusting again. So I don't think anybody who says that I don't trust anymore should be actually believed, because it's fluid, it changes. So for me, it wasn't different. When I felt betrayed, I stopped trusting. But then somebody else came along and made me believe in myself again. held my hand, loved me, I trusted again. So trust is like that. They say that trust should be given until you're betrayed. For example, when we sit on an aeroplane, right, we go on a flight, we don't go and ask the pilot, show me your credentials, can I trust you that you will fly this plane and get us to our destination? We simply trust. Now if something goes wrong, that's when your trust will be broken. Think, oh, maybe I should have checked whether this was the right airline for me, what is the history of accidents. So trust is like that. So I don't have an issue with trust. I have had moments of distrust, and I work on it all the time. I don't want any one bad experience to define my life for me. So if today it's hurtful. I have had instances like even yesterday, someone I trusted broke my trust. Now for that night, for the evening, I went through that whole period of feeling bad. I processed it, I reflected on it. Then I said, okay, I have to make peace with it, because next morning I have to wake up and I have to live my life again. I can't live my life in yesterday's pain or distrust, right? It's old news. It's like laundry. Let's wash that laundry off and start afresh. So today I washed that laundry off and today I don't have a problem. But I'll be very cautious of that particular person. And that's not distress. That's a learning.
For sure. I think that's a very interesting way to look at the old narrative trope of, trust is like a piece of paper, once crumpled, it's never going to straighten out again. I mean, true, it is difficult to trust after you've been betrayed. But like you said, it's
Having moments of
moments
distrust.
of distrust. Yeah.
And
Um,
you can have a problem with trust with that particular incident or person, but don't let it define your image or your definition of trust for everything in this world. We should not generalize. We generalize.
Okay, I really like that. Throughout the book, when I was reading, especially towards the end, I felt like there was a lot of poems about how much trust you had with yourself, and it really showed that you have a really great relationship with yourself, especially towards the end of the book. And even after the incidents of domestic abuse, you talk about being reborn from a little girl to a little woman. And there's also so many incidences of mentioning things like your hair color, your nose pin. So, are all of these ways of self expression?
See, like I said, I don't really think and write. It just comes to me. And let me tell you, actually, if this is of any value to you, a lot of people asked me about the process of writing this book. And I think I didn't share that yet. I have never sat and written thinking, Aaj main ye likhungi. Today I am going to write this. You know how I write? Suddenly it's suddenly like when you have this desire to go to the toilet, right? You want to pee and you have to go. Sorry, we should talk about these things as well. Why it's a biology is a way of life, right? And you have to go, right? It's the same with for me writing. When I want to write, I cannot listen to any. I just get my laptop on and the words just flow. It's almost like I'm channeled to write. I always say to my partner Nicola, I say, if I say this to people, they will not believe me. They won't understand, because I know there are famous people and very, very well-known authors who spend hours and hours and hours plotting, planning, structuring, and then they write, right? So nothing against those writers, fantastic, but I can't write that way. For me, it comes naturally, it comes organically. So that is one part. Now, what were you asking? What did you
Um,
ask?
you mentioned, you mentioned, talking about like your hair color, your nose ring.
Self-expression.
Yes.
Self-expression, yeah. So like I said, so when if somebody will ask me on a particular day, why do you have two nose pins, or somebody has made a comment about it, suddenly some words come and then I've written like what my two nose pins stand for. Or so the everyday's experiences or comments allow me the freedom, or the words come to me, let's say, and that's how I express myself. And you're right about one thing. In the book, it's like a journey from darkness into light, 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 light. I want to say this to all our audience. It's so important to be kind to yourself and to love yourself. We are the last for us, right? There was a experiment conducted where, in fact, even in my talks, I do that. I ask people, if you had to look after one person, who would you look after? And people will say, only one person. So people will say friends, mom, dad, dog, cat. Not a single person, even in a room of 500,000 people, will say me. We never look after. We never even consider ourselves important enough to look after ourselves. It is so important. That's the starting point. we are made to feel guilty, especially women, when we don't look after our children, our husband, our in-laws, our parents. We are made to feel guilty. That guilt should not happen. So my book actually goes through that journey of, then finally I reached a point. I said, actually, if I look after myself, if I love myself, if I love every bit of my nail polish, my whatever the character that I am, then I am able to give so much more back to people. And you know what? It is the truth. Ever since I did that, I feel that I'm able to give so much more back to my friends, my family, even strangers. So self-love, self-expression is truly important. And that is what the book, I think, naturally came to the conclusion in the end.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I definitely agree on the self-love. But even when you asked the question right now in my head, I was like, my mom and like
I was
Piyushi and my
blank. I
friends.
was so blank.
No, but you're right. It's because if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not in no condition to take care of anybody else. So it definitely should take precedence. And while we're on the subject of self and soul and, everything that makes us us, my favorite part about your book was your soul theory. I absolutely loved it. And I would love you to tell everybody about it and how it applies to you.
Wonderful. So this soul theory came to me actually, like one day, like a prayer. I still remember that day. And I'm going to describe that day if you want to actually, it's like a writer writing this book, right? I haven't described that. I
Please.
No.
was my dad had passed already. I was in this house. There was the door that you see in the book. So this was open, and there was a curtain hanging. And I was going. Have you ever played that game where you go round and round, round, round the curtain, and then suddenly you stop, and then you
Congrats.
swirl around?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that used to be my favorite game. So I was swirling like this, and I fell. I remember I still have a scar, and I have a scar, and I was bleeding. Sitting there was no one there to look after me. I sat there bleeding, thinking, this is real blood now. What am I going to do? Thinking in my head. And suddenly this came to me. This thing appeared in my head about the soul theory. Obviously, at that time, I didn't know anything about souls or about theories, about the Big Bang world, nothing. So, the way I see our lives, like you and us, why we connected like that, right? Is that like the Big Bang happened with the Earth, and it went into different, there was a whole theory around it, and there were planets and stars that were formed in the universe. I really believe that before we are born, our soul goes through a Big Bang theory, Big Bang. And there are little parts of a big part, small parts, millions of parts that go around into people's bodies. Then we are born. And basically, all our life, we are connecting to those little pieces of our souls. Some have small parts because you will dream of somebody, never meet them. You'll walk to a coffee shop or into a supermarket, you look at somebody in the eye and just nod your head. Maybe छोटे parts of our souls are there, but some people you will start suddenly experiencing a little bit more attraction or connection. Maybe they have a bigger part. Then you fall in love. You don't understand the chemistry. What the hell is this? You say, I don't know why this person I'm so attracted to. People have many theories around it. My theory is that a bigger part of your soul has gone. But sometimes you can be in a relationship where you're totally in love, but you may meet somebody else who you feel even stronger for, and that could mean that that person has a bigger part of your soul. Who knows? So my point is that I think all our life we are seeking pieces to connect with pieces of our soul. That's all we're doing. And that is why all the more reason we have to be gentle and kind to everybody, because they're actually carrying a piece of our soul.
I absolutely love this theory, and this is why I wanted to discuss it. I think to everyone who's here, I'm sure a lot of people will be hearing it for the first time, but I hope you all found it as relatable as I did. And for one thing, I'm very thankful. When your soul went to that Big Bang, a little part came to us
Yeah.
and we connected. So I'm
Me
so
too. I'm so happy it happened with you both, and I've absolutely loved interacting with you.
For sure. Right. So, to everyone listening, to all of our amazing listeners, we hope you found this session as fun, insightful, learning, and hopeful as we did. And we would encourage you all to check out Raga, her work, her handle, totally out now, and definitely read her book. Yeah.
So closets are for closed, not to hide your truth, my friends. Live your life absolutely beautifully, magically, without an untold lie.